Welcome to a Fantasy Fan Sportscast with Easy and Lou Landers. Now enjoy the show, but don't forget our safe word.
Yeah, thank you, Zaz. And today, our safe word is Tannehill. When we say Tannehill, go. Get out of here. We've had enough, but we will discuss the Miami Dolphins here in a minute. And welcome to the Legend Sports Network. This is a Fantasy Fan, the Sunday or the Easy on a Sunday morning edition, where I'm with my co-host, who's also on all over the the Legend Sports Network, Lou Landers at Landers Talks. How you doing today, Lou?
I am doing terrific and very excited about the Legend Sports Network at Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com. Come join if you are not already a member. Come to the chat room. Come everywhere imaginable on Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com, the Legend Sports Network. We have plenty of podcasts, articles, content available. And Lenny just announced the really exciting MLB team correspondence that we're going to be starting up. So if you're listening and you are a big fan of your MLB team and you want to be able to cover that team, write about them, report about them, come find Lenny Melnick. Come find me if you want. I'll direct you to Lenny Melnick if you can't find him. And come be a part of our correspondence team.
It is great. It is very exciting. And I'll throw out there, now's the time to join. The big things are going to happen, late December, January, but now's when you want to join. You want to get in there. You want to be involved, maybe even in some of the decision makings or know what's going on. But I'm guessing if you're a member now, you're going to get some benefit and again, be able to pick up some extra information through the football season. But yes, come out there and be a part of the Lenny Melnick fantasysports.com, where right now you can go on the chat room. It's free. You don't even have to log in. If you want to remain a guest, that's fine. But give us your sit start question.
We prefer you not be a guest, so we know who you are.
That is true, because we love the nicknames. Right. And I said it the other day. Right.
And Lenny just wrote, we're going to be better than The Athletic. So we're going to rival The Athletic with regards to our correspondence.
There you go. All right. So, I'm on board. And it's kind of neat for me. I'm the fan of this group. I bring a fan's perspective, but there are a lot of experts that are out there on this website. And that's where, man, I've gotten much better at baseball over the last couple of years following Lenny. We just did our basketball draft last night, which was enjoyable. Double A was in the chat room for a few minutes. That always opens up the chat room a little bit.
Character. Double A is worth the free admission.
Yes, right now he is definitely worth the free admission. That guy got me involved. I was heckling. I don't even know who what. It's some friend of his, and I got into we got into a heckling situation. Easy can smack talk with the best of them in a chat room. So I'm not afraid.
Easy, right? Easy peasy. But I feel like we're boring everybody here.
We are. That's right. Let's get right to the main topics of the day. Your sit start questions, and obviously the big news when it first came on was that Dalvin Cook is definitely out for today. I personally believe if you're a Dalvin Cook owner, it's a good thing. You want him to be healthy, I think, when he finally comes back. I think in fantasy now, this needs to be, I like when they sit a few weeks versus having to guess every week and all that. But what does it do for the Minnesota Vikings offense? I'd assume it bumps up all the receivers, which were already pretty high. And Latavius Murray hasn't had a great season, even though with Dalvin Cook not being out. What's your opinion?
I think you nailed that spot on, Mr. Fantasy Fan. I think that Latavius Murray, if you are a Dalvin Cook owner and don't have many other options, sure, you should probably be looking to start Latavius Murray. But more than 10, 11 points in a game, he's going to probably even need receptions or a touchdown just to get to that. They haven't been running the football much when Cook was healthy, when Cook isn't healthy. There's been a lot of Kirk Cousins to Thielen, Diggs, and Rudolph. So, I think it only adds to the value of those guys. They played the Arizona Cardinals today. Of course, Patrick Peterson is a great cornerback, but he can't cover all three of those guys. So I think Cousins is going to look for the guy that's open.
Right.
He's going to look for the best matchup, and at least one, if not both, Diggs and Thielen, probably over 100 yards and a touchdown today.
I think this actually helps Rudolph because I don't think the wide receivers could gain much more. Personally, you're already starting on them. So I'll go right with a quick start sit question that I got before this, and that was I was asked Rudolph versus Burton. Tight ends are a little weird, and I'll go ahead and put a hash in there. I'll put Hooper, Tampa Bay. Is it Hooper?
Hooper for the Falcons versus the Bucs.
Falcons. Okay, right. So give me a quick, again, a lot of people have problems with tight end anyway. Do you think Rudolph picks up a little bit? Burton's coming off of a bye week. So, what's your opinion on tight ends right now?
Well, I was into Cameron Brate a lot until I saw that O.J. Howard likely to play.
Howard's back too,
so
right?
That hurts the value a little bit there. Eric Ebron was questionable. He's going to play today. There's no T.Y. Hilton. There's no Jack Doyle. That means a lot of volume for Eric Ebron. So he's at the top of my list for the most part. Expensive in DFS, but in general, he's up there. I like David Njoku of the Browns today. The last 2 games, he's had 18 targets. I do like Rudolph a little bit. I do not mind Trey Burton. I like Trey Burton, but I do think it's going to be a lot of Allen Robinson and the running game for the Bears. You asked me about one other guy. You asked me about so many guys.
Mainly just those 4 tight ends. Those were the main ones.
Okay, yeah. So all of them are decent plays, but I would say my favorite play is Ebron and Hooper.
Okay, so the tight ends, if you have those,
the non-elite players,
right? And you know what? I'll throw one more in there, and that's Olsen. Olsen is now playing for sure today. Would you throw him with that same group of people, or do you put him a notch ahead?
Typically, if he's been healthy, I would have him a notch ahead of them because I think that he is the best of that bunch. Cam Newton trusts him, not really any of his receivers, only McCaffrey and him. But considering he's coming back right now, it's his first day back. I would group him with the rest of them. I don't think he's going to do any better. He could do worse. It's kind of a gamble, but if you own Greg Olsen, you're unlikely to own another great tight end. So if you have him, you're probably putting him in your lineup.
Right. And then the Bears, but only because I got multiple things written down, but you mentioned Bears running backs. Howard Cohen. Are you on? What do you think about Cohen right now? Is he startable? To me, he's a decent flex if you have him. The last time we saw him, they were using him more than Howard.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the case during certain games, certain matchups. You got to figure if the Bears are well ahead, you're going to see a lot more of Jordan Howard in the second half. Ball control, running between the tackles. If they're in a game where it's a bit of back and forth, you're going to see more Tariq Cohen. I think you're also going to see a lot of Cohen at lining up maybe in the slot or at wide receiver at times too. If you're in a PPR league, I think Cohen is still a safe start. I'm not sure if they're as good as the James White, Sony Michel start, in New England with that duo. You could honestly get away with starting both White and Michel in the same lineup in season long or in DFS. I'm not saying you can't do that with the Bears, but I think it's still a wait and see approach. We actually have a question regarding that a little bit here. Double A says he has David Johnson against the Vikings, but he also has Jordan Howard and Cohen against Miami. He says thinks they have a chance to play well. Dalvin Cook is out with considering Latavius Murray over David Johnson. Don't overthink this. Definitely go with David Johnson. You drafted David Johnson to play him every week. So I like David Johnson. Double A, are you asking who you prefer to start between Howard and Cohen? I think right now, based on game script, I like Jordan Howard. But don't shoot me if Cohen ends up doing it.
Now I'm not going to shoot you, but this to me is something to consider with the running backs of the Bears and the amount of time they'll split up. The fan in me says it's going to be about 102 degrees at game time on that field. The Bears are in the all black today. They've been practicing in 40-degree weather this week. I think they're going to split even more than normal. I think they're both going to be kind of equal just because of the weather situation, regardless what the situation is. Score-wise, I just think they're going to play them about equal. I think the Bears, even though Miami's going to have problems on offense, I think the Bears are going to struggle that 100-degree weather.
Anything's possible. It is hot, But
it's not as possible. It's proven. I mean, Miami did so great at the beginning of the season because people come down to their place and play in 100-degree weather early on in the season. This is definitely much more of a temperature swing for a Chicago team going down there than normal. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
I would say that the Dolphins played well early on because they didn't play any good teams.
Okay. All right. Might be.
Well, the actual opponent skill level. Last 2 weeks, they've played good teams and they haven't fared too well. And the Bears are one of those good teams. So I'm not looking at the weather.
David Johnson's who I would play anyway. I mean, David Johnson, to me, that's the play. He's not sharing time anyway. So that's why I would look at David Johnson even more. Is I think
in fact, even the tiny bit of action that David Johnson wouldn't get was going to Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds is banged up.
Yes.
I still don't know if he's 100% in or out at this point. He's still questionable with a back issue, but if he tweaks that at all, if he misses, even part of the game, that only adds to David Johnson's value.
Right.
And yes, the tough matchup versus the Vikings, but David Johnson, could still easily get a touchdown. He's a focal point of that offense. He's likely going to make catches out of the backfield. I mean, even if he grabs, 3 balls for 25 yards plus all the rushing, he's still going to give you that double-digit floor.
Right. You mentioned Sony Michel earlier. He is still questionable tonight, so I would tell anybody at a minimum move him to your flex and make sure you have other options. I mean, I think they're leaning more towards him playing, but it is New England. You never know.
You know what? We have another question here, and I'm going to contradict myself because Meckern says you got to bench David Johnson, TJ Yeldon, James White, or Gronkowski. In this situation, I would actually bench David Johnson. I think Yeldon's going to do better. I trust James White and Gronkowski in this shootout that's going to happen Sunday night or tonight versus the Chiefs. I think that David Johnson's floor is still solid, but from a ceiling standpoint, I like Yeldon, White, and Gronk more than I like David Johnson based on their matchups and situations.
In that question, I'd be curious then if he's talking about sitting Gronk, he must have another tight end. So I'd kind of be curious. I get what Gronk does, but I have trouble ever sitting Gronk. I guess I can't even imagine unless you have Ertz or Kelsey. Maybe I can't imagine sitting Gronk regardless in your tight end spot. But I agree with you. Yeldon should get the ball a ton. White should see the ball in that. David Johnson may be the one I sit there also. So
yeah, White is leading running backs in receptions, I believe, this year.
Not only that, back to Sony Michel. If Sony Michel is definitely out, White could have 200 yards, all-purpose yards, if that would be the case.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think Sony Michel is out as much as
but he's questionable. And a couple of things I read this morning made it sound like it was more the Bengals. The Patriots aren't real good about telling you exactly how bad anybody is. So when they say questionable, they could already know. I mean, that's what a couple of things I read is. Just the argument there would be just plan ahead. Obviously, more if you're starting Sony Michel, in my opinion, but make sure you have somebody.
Definitely, but I don't honestly. The thing about White and with Michel, which is why I kind of compared it to the Cohen Howard situation, is that they really don't take away from each other because Michel is going to be the guy that typically runs the tackles. White's going to get a lot of dump offs, a lot of catches. I mean, last week, if I'm not mistaken, White maybe carried the ball once, but he still had tons of receptions and yards, and Michel got all the work on the ground. So with New England's offense the way it is, I mean, of course, Gronk's in there, Edelman, you never know, you could get a Josh Gordon sighting or a Hogan or, whatever it might be. But my plays this week, if you're New England, are White, Michel, Gronkowski.
Right. And Mecker did say he started Ertz already in his tight end. So my thing would be, you know what? You got a half hour. I'd trade Gronk. Just, anything's possible. I have Ertz and Gronk. I'm definitely trying to move one of them. So that's just
wait till after one of their bye weeks to do that.
Well, that's true. But I think Patriots are a late bye week. I want to say like 11. So, and like I said, anything
I can say easy, and I know we're doing a start and sit question, but one of the biggest things that people sometimes forget is the value of acquiring a player who's already had their bye week.
Me and Chris have that as our part of our podcast this week because it's that time to start looking at that. I agree. When you're looking at trade value right now, somebody who's already had their bye week has a little more value than someone that doesn't, especially sometimes you'll catch somebody in a trade knowing the other guy's going into their bye week the very next week, and if you're not playing somebody this week and they're on bye next week, this would have been the week I'd have looked to have moved them in some cases, but I agree. So take a look at that.
You can even say that on the waiver wire with defenses. Sure. Kickers, for instance, which people don't really care as much about, but if you already have a defense or a kicker that's been on their bye week, you don't have to look at that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I picked up the Bears because they were on their bye week, and now I'm done.
The fact that they were available is amazing. Right, but they might have been dropped because they were on the bye, right?
A real question, a quick start sit. And again, maybe we need to get better at just answering the question. Then everyone knows I talk too much. Cohen, Geronimo Allison, or Miller, Houston running back. Need to start one.
Need to start one. It was, what was it? Cohen, Allison,
Miller.
Right now, I'd lean Cohen. However, if you want to take a shot in the dark and hope for the best with Allison and his status for Monday, I like Allison. I really like that game for the Packers. I definitely am not going anywhere near Lamar Miller.
It does say in the question it was a PPR, so I don't know if that matters to me. Both of them are going to catch the ball. Cohen could technically probably have more passes, less yards than a Geronimo Allison.
Yeah, Andrea has. We have two. Meckard, bench one between Edelman, Sanders, Woods, Lockett, or John Brown. I'd probably bench John Brown here in that situation. Definitely not going to bench Edelman, Woods, or Lockett.
I agree.
And Emmanuel Sanders, I think the Broncos are going to be throwing the ball quite a bit. Let's see.
The fact it's standard, does that change your mind a little bit? I think Sanders, to me, is less likely to get a touchdown than Brown, because I do think Flacco does throw down the field to Brown. That might be the only thing, but I would agree. Yeah. Brown would probably be my first choice.
That's true. Andrea says Graham or Kittle. Yeah, Cardinal first baseman took the words right out of my mouth there. Both those guys play against each other Monday night. If Kittle is active, I'm definitely jumping on Kittle. He's the main focal point of that offense. Graham is maybe third or fourth behind. Cardinals or Falcons defense. Oh man, they're both terrible because the Falcons are likely going to give up a lot of points to the Bucs.
Yeah, I can't believe there's something else not better.
I think that Winston is potentially turnover prone, though. I don't see the Cardinals defense doing much, if anything, against the Vikings. So I would go Falcons, but it's not they're not good options, either one of them.
And Phil Chapp is saying Flacco is bad on the road. I agree with that. But again, if they get a touchdown pass out of all this, it wouldn't surprise me that it's not John Brown deep. That's all. I'm not.
Definitely. Cardinal first baseman says Rams defense DFS. Yeah, same with the Chicago Bears, man. Chicago Bears defense.
I went Bears
deep, considering now it's Osweiler too instead of Tannehill. So that's definitely big. Luck or Dalton, I definitely like Andy Dalton. Steelers defense, yes, they did okay shutting down the Falcons last week. For the first time they played defense, but they were at home. Now they're on the road.
I know, but it's the big rivalry. It's the big rivalry game, here in Cincinnati.
Chris Godwin here, Meckard. Allen Robinson or Chris Godwin? Definitely Godwin. I think it's going to be a shootout there in the Bucs and the Bears game. I'm definitely going with Godwin there. I do like Allen Robinson, but again, I think that you're going to see a lot of Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard as the game progresses. It's also standard, and I mean, neither of them is a guy that I think is going to get 8, 9, 10 receptions. So I'm simply looking for yards and touchdowns. And I think that Godwin has the better chance for that in a game that could have 50 to 60 points compared to a Bears-Dolphins game that honestly the Dolphins would be lucky to score 10 points. Bears, at a certain point will probably just cool off. You're looking for defenses here, Andrea. People might think I'm crazy, but I actually would suggest picking up the Indianapolis Colts defense today. Sam Darnold is a great young quarterback, but he's very turnover prone. So yes, Indianapolis.
Don't overlook the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, the Jaguars have thrown interceptions quite a bit the last few weeks. So that would be one I'd also maybe consider. If it just depends on the scoring for your defense, but interceptions. Bortles, which I have that question too, Bortles or Mayfield, but Bortles does throw interceptions. So if you get dinged for interceptions, Mayfield's probably less likely to do that. But if he throws interceptions, Cowboys D is probably better. But Bortles or Mayfield is a starting QB.
I would definitely go with Mayfield.
I think 100%. I would also. The problem is Bortles, but Bortles always. I know, but Bortles can get 200 yards in the last 10 minutes of a game. That's what's always,
He can, but that's assuming they're losing. I think
true.
Think this is going to be a game versus Dallas. It's very close, very defensive-minded.
Okay.
Both teams have good defenses. Neither team has a good offense. Specifically, the Cowboys don't have anything on offense outside of Zeke. I definitely think that the Cowboys defense, I like your call there. I definitely like the Colts for this week specifically. Even the Titans against the Ravens. I mean, Flacco, someone said Flacco's not good on the road. They nailed that right on the head.
I guess the answer to Andrea, though, there's better choices on her waivers or her free agent or whatever than there are on her bench. So, yes, I would say she needs to pick up one of those.
Andrea, again, Kittle or Graham, you don't have to take a chance on waiting because they play each other against each other Monday night. So you legitimately can wait till 5 minutes before that Monday night game. If Kittle is healthy, you go Kittle. If Kittle's not healthy, then Graham's the easy choice.
Yep. The other thing I had was the Jets have now said Crowell is playing. Even though he had a big week last week, Powell still is actually in the game more often. If you had both on your team, or would you start? I mean, let's say you had to start one of them. Which are you starting?
Honestly, that's a coin flip.
I got you.
I am not leaning towards either one. I have no Crowell, and I do own Powell. I am not starting Powell, if that means anything.
My argument would be PPR. I probably would say Powell a little bit. They haven't thrown to him as much, but that could change, I guess. But we've seen Crowell have big days and bad days.
I feel like Crowell also is the touchdown vulture, regardless.
Okay. So we helped no one on that one. The Miami Dolphins running backs with this game playing the Bears. I know there's not much to say, but does Drake have a better shot this week because Tannehill is out?
No, I'm benching every single Dolphins offensive player.
Period.
No.
Okay. All right. Denver weather. We have snow in that game. This is our first snow game of the year. If you're going to have it on TV, does that affect either team?
I definitely don't think it affects the Rams because they have Todd Gurley and he can run through anything.
Well, but they're three wide receivers, though.
Yeah, I mean, is it a snowstorm or is it there's snow on the ground? Because
I would use the word in Chris will make fun my air quotes this morning. Now they're saying the weather was gonna give up a little bit before game time, and they thought they'd be able to get the field cleared. So but that's where we're at right at the moment. I mean, so we'll have to see game time. And they don't they're a 4:05 start. So that's not a big deal. We do also have the game in over the pond today. The Raiders Seahawks. To me, not a lot of fantasy players in that one, maybe. But if you had to pick a couple out of that game, anybody stand out?
Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson. That's really about it. I mean, Doug Baldwin, if you own him, you're probably playing him. But right now, Lockett seems to be the favorite target of Russell Wilson. He's getting lots of touchdowns, been getting lots of big plays. There's always the special team potential from Lockett. I do think, although it's on the road and in London, that Russell Wilson could have himself a very nice game versus a very soft Raiders defense.
Right. Well, Lynch has been hurt, but he's been on the injury list, but he is one of those type veterans. But as far as we know, is he playing?
As far as I know, Marshawn Lynch is active. There is a bit of that revenge story here because, former Seahawk, they didn't give him the ball in that Super Bowl. So, I mean, there is that going for Marshawn Lynch, but he is active in this football game. He actually does not even have an injury designation this week. Despite the limited practice, he is definitely playing. He's obviously the main guy in in Oakland. I mean, it's not going to be Doug Martin. I know that Richard does get some receptions here and there, but if you own Marshawn Lynch, you're probably putting him in this game. And it's not like the Seahawks have a very dangerous front four or even front seven anymore.
Now, these London games always seem to be weird, but this one is starting later. It's 1 o'clock here. It's not that 9 game where they're playing earlier over in London. So I mean, this is more like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like a Monday night game for them, that type thing. But what about Amari Cooper or Sammy Watkins, if you have that decision to make?
Watkins.
No, he didn't even hesitate.
Yeah. Firstly, Amari Cooper has been so inconsistent this season. It's either game for him or no game for him.
But it is every other week, and this is the week he's due.
Yeah, you could say that, but I also think that with Sammy Watkins, firstly, he's been quite involved in that Chiefs passing attack, but Bill Belichick is known for taking away the best or second best option in an offense. To me, that's Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. So if he even takes away either of those guys or both of those guys, who's that open the game up for? Sammy Watkins, Kareem Hunt.
Right.
So I like Sammy Watkins.
All right. I can go with that. Colts running backs. I think this is the first time they have all 9,000 of them healthy today.
Yeah, sucks for Hines owners. The Hines have been so money in PPR leagues, like really money.
And people don't like Marlon Mack, but have we really seen him yet healthy?
I mean, there's been times, but I mean, he was stuck behind Frank Gore of all people.
Right. I guess that's what I mean. We haven't seen him yet as a true number one. So, I mean, I've got him. I dropped him in a few leagues, kept him in a few leagues, just where obviously running backs are more of a problem. And, obviously, it's hard to cut a starting running back in some cases in some leagues. So I'll be, he's the one I committed to of them before the season started. So, I've not had any Hines or anybody else. And without T.Y., what's wide receiver of that group are you looking at?
So Luck seems to really like Rodgers, but Rodgers seems to drop a lot of passes. He's got Butterfingers. I think the safe pick here is definitely Ryan Grant if you're looking for receptions and yards. If obviously Eric Ebron's the best option in the Colts passing attack this week. It's definitely Eric Ebron from a wide receiver standpoint.
He's also been hurt to the all the way till now. I know they're saying he's playing. I just wonder if he's playing because they have to have him. That would be my thing. If they were 100% healthy, I don't think he plays today, based on what I read earlier in the week. So we'll see. Andrea's still working on her defenses. Atlanta or Bengals defense?
Either one. You don't want either. You don't want.
This league has only a few available. One is Arizona, Oakland, or Miami.
This week, because of how weird those London games are, and although I think the Seahawks could put up a lot of points, I'll go with Oakland.
That would be one that I would consider. That's true.
London game. I don't trust the Dolphins at all. I don't trust Arizona this week. Bengals are playing a great offense. Atlanta's defense hasn't stopped anybody. I don't like the Oakland Raiders defense, but in these London games, you see a lot of weird special teams, touchdowns, a lot of just weird things go on. And sometimes you can, think you're going to see one of those, tight games. And a lot of times, whether you're the better team or the worst team, it ends up being like 40-10.
Right. Plus, we're helping Andrea a lot. I don't know if she's playing either one of us. They keep kicking my ass. So I'm going to, tell her to, maybe I have to start answering these questions with a different state of mind. So, but I agree there, man, I am bummed, all week I heard and I still heard a podcast yesterday where the guy on that podcast was convinced it was a 9 o'clock game, because he's like, now check your lineups in the morning, because I was too earlier, meaning last week when I first saw it on the schedule. And then I caught on pretty quickly that there was no 9 a.m. game. The next 2 weeks we have those. So our start sit stuff, I know me and Chris will probably do some of it on Wednesday, and I'm sure you'll have information on Saturday, because those games you'll have to make some decisions early on next week.
It's true. And those early games are really early for me, 6 a.m. So, I mean, it's not really early. I do podcast on the Legend Sports Network and obviously on LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. that at that time. So it's not that early, but it's weird to see football at 6 a.m. I can tell you that.
Right. All right. Well, just a couple things, and we'll be wrapping up here. I'd be ignoring the Lenny Melnick crowd if we just don't mention just quick baseball. What do you think about the game tonight? I think the good thing is it will have a little gap. I think it's a 7:30 start, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
maybe
this might be the easiest game of the postseason to call here. We have
yes. Go ahead.
Very good. He's looked very, very good so far this season, of course, for the Astros. He looked good in that first postseason start with the Astros. But guess what? Guess who his opponent is? David Price. The price has been very, very wrong for David.
Yes, I agree with that.
Starts.
I agree with that.
So I would say that the Astros are going to win this game, and that means bad, bad things for the Boston Red Sox. You do not want to be down 2-0 to this team going back to Houston for 3.
All right. Quick question. Guest Rona, David Jackson, or Ridley?
I think it's Deshaun Jackson, but yes. You know what? I think I'd say Calvin Ridley. One, the Bucs passing defense is actually worse than that of the Falcons, if you can believe that. But also, Winston has never really shown much of an affection for Deshaun Jackson. He likes Godwin, he likes Evans, and there's actually a guy that may be 4th on the depth chart right now, but who Winston really likes, and that's Adam Humphries. And I'm afraid that Humphries might actually take away a lot of Deshaun Jackson's values moving forward. Deshaun Jackson had a lot more value with Ryan Fitzpatrick in at quarterback, because Fitzpatrick just likes to gun it. He'll just throw it as deep as he can, and that's Deshaun Jackson's game. Could Deshaun Jackson and Winston, develop some better rapport? It's possible, but I think that Ridley has a better chance to beat this Bucs defense today.
All right. Then the last thing, Phil, in there is Jordy or Manny S in a PPR.
Definitely Manny Sanders.
That's what I would say.
I don't trust Jordy Nelson as far as I could throw him. I mean, he's had some touchdowns this year. He's definitely had some touchdowns this year. He's had some decent days. But I really don't trust the Raiders offense, period, right now.
All right. Well, we got a couple things before we close up here. I mean, Easy's thankful that Lenny's including me in the Legend Sports Network, somebody who has no experience in this whatsoever. And obviously the flaw I have is ending any of my shows on any kind of a schedule yet. So maybe as we move forward, and I have to because someone else is either coming on or whatever, I'll have to get better at it. We're still going to go over our 30 minutes, but I have a couple things. I am wearing, my gear today from the number 2, the school in the land. The Buckeyes will be number 2 tomorrow morning. But that's not where I need to go. Where I need to go is you threw out something in your podcast yesterday that struck Easy, a little on the bad side. And that was that you were negative on my burgers and dogs. These aren't regular burgers. These are gourmet burgers. I patted them myself. There's a lot of ingredients. I was up, grilled them out this morning. This isn't some frozen crap that you get at your Kroger store. These are gourmet burgers. I have a burger bar.
It's an all-American feast.
It is. You trashed it yesterday. You were like, "Oh, Easy's got it made today. He's, throwing on a few burgers and some dogs." No, there's chili for chili dogs. There's grated cheese I grated this morning. So,
my deepest apologies. To me, though, a taco bar, brisket, a little more exciting. I mean,
right? We did barbecue wings a while back. We did, we try to, rotate. Like I said, the 2 weeks of London games we do. That's a carry in. Easy doesn't work on those days. But I'm just saying, you trashed my dogs, and I'm pretty sure if you were here today, you'd have more than one of my gourmet burgers.
Oh, it looks like Winston or Dalton question. Oh, wow. It depends on what your matchup is looking like right now. Are you looking for a safe floor? Are you looking for, potentially that 30-plus point quarterback? Is it 4 points a touchdown? Is it 6 points per touchdown for quarterbacks? All those things are kind of factor in my decision with Winston and Dalton. So I'll wait to see if we get more information on that, because that's one of those coin flips. In general, I would go Andy Dalton, but with the matchup today, I really do like Jameis Winston. And I really do think that being on that bye last week really allowed him to catch up to speed. I mentioned this yesterday on the First and Goal podcast. And I just see a lot of offense going on in this game. Not that I don't see a lot of offense in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, but if I had a little more information on, how the yardage breakdown is for points, how the touchdown yardage, how the yardage is, guess Chang Lu couldn't resist the urge to have a second helping of Easy's wieners. You know what? If I could, I would be at Easy's for football this week. I love me some hamburgers and some wieners.
All right, I'm just saying. I did catch your show. I do listen, and you just dogged my wiener. Or wieners. I'm sorry. So, hey, I had a great time. Had a blast. Everyone, come out to Lenny Melnick, afantasysports.com. Be a part of the Legend Sports Network, where me and Lou both have multiple shows on multiple days, and we'd love to have you. You can.
Hey, you know what? Even if we are not on air, we're in the chat room. So come hang out with these characters you see on the screen here today.
Oh, we are characters.
And talk. Lenny says, wait. So we're going to wait around. What else is going on? I mean, Easy may have to selfishly check his lineups, but I'm the smart guy that checked his lineups before this show.
I'm getting better at that. So I'm getting my dogs and burgers ready. Like I said, I was literally, the grill was outside going at 7:35 so that I could have stuff done and all that. And the neighbor came out and gave me a little hassle. I just said, hey, I think the oldest form of religion is a man cooking meat over fire. And I think on a Sunday morning,
Guess Mora, Eckler or Boyd 100% for me today. Firstly, Eckler is a backup running back. He does have some PPR skills, but to me, Boyd has been one of the best steals in fantasy so far this season. Even in a down week for his standards last week, he still put up 9 or 10 points. Some people have already said so in the chat room. AJ Green is going to get a lot of over-the-top coverage, double coverage. That's going to open things up for Tyler Boyd on the outside and over the middle because, of course, Tyler Eifert's out too. They're going with two of their main tight ends are out. They're going with a rookie tight end or a second-year tight end with not a lot of experience. Boyd could see upwards of 12 to 15 targets today. I'm
getting asked in the corner of my ear here from Little Easy. Njoku, who plays today, or Kittle, who may not play.
Okay, I do like Njoku lately because Njoku has gotten a lot more targets ever since Baker Mayfield came into the fold. And also with Kittle, I do like Kittle a lot. I like Kittle a lot because he is the focal point. But with Kittle's injury and not knowing what's going to be, although I do think he's going to play, the last thing you want is to settle with Kittle, miss out on whatever Njoku does today, and then not have a tight end.
Right. If you need you need those points, and then you're like, dang it, that always is a killer.
And
but
it's not like we're talking about. It's not like we're talking about a Vance McDonald versus Rob Gronkowski here,
right?
Where it's like,
and I don't even know who's Kittle's backup. Meaning, I guess that would be the other issue if you had the ability to move somebody around.
Use check or Brent Selleck.
Yes, you're right, Selleck.
The other Selleck, the worst Selleck. Brent Selleck used to be his brother.
The worst. I get that. All right, we're going to have to end it here. Again, it's not my fault. I tried to end this close. I had a great time. Again, come join us. Lou, where can they find you on Twitter if they want to have questions and everything ready for you, and your podcast, the next one coming up?
Well, at Landers Talks on Twitter, at Lenny's Legion on Twitter. Come to LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. Not only do we have a lot of new fun changes going on, but we have our Legend Sports Network with tons of podcasts, including this one with a number of different awesome people like Easy, like myself, Lenny Melnick, Andrea Lamont, Double A, Cubby, Steve Bateman, Drop the Mic, and so many others that I wish I had a list in front of me right now. I think I did pretty good for no list, though.
Yeah, I would agree. You're doing great. All right, I'm going to go get ready for my burgers. Everyone enjoy your games coming up here on the 1:00 our time. Have a good week. I'll see you on Wednesday night with Chris, and we'll be back here again
Tuesday, recapping all the action.
Oh, that's right. Tuesday is the morning show now?
Yes, morning show. It'll either be at 9 a.m. or if Lenny feels like doing some baseball, I'll follow him on Tuesday morning.
Lenny always feels like doing baseball. It's just a matter if he, gets there or not. All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Have a good week.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night.
Safe word,
Good night.